All right. So one of the things that everyone always talks about in personal finance is to create a budget. And that sounds simple enough, but sometimes people do have trouble even creating an initial budget. So I want to share with everyone my budget sheet that I personally use to budget and plan my finances. So how you can access this is check in the link below and go ahead and click on the link and it will bring you to this. My budget sheet is on Google Docs, and so you'll be able to access it and make a copy if you have a Gmail account. And all you have to do is click on this link. You'll be able to view it here, and you can go to File and make a copy. And then you can put this directly into your own Google Drive. So this is a copy of the sheet. Once I have a copy here, you will be able to edit it how you like. So now you should have editing permissions to be able to adjust it. And then in case you ever need to get back here, all you have to do is go to your Gmail. You can check it out in your Drive, and then you have the sheet right here for you to use. But enough about that. Let's actually jump into looking at the sheet. So I look at budgeting in terms of really three main buckets. You have your income coming in, and then the three buckets that it goes to personally is either investments, savings, and expenses. Investments and savings, they're kind of the same thing in the sense that you're saving your money and you're investing it, but I'm gonna call them out separately here. But let's just start off with this income column right here. So how I have it set up is I have this pre-tax income, and I am making this by a bi-monthly paycheck system. So it's as if you got only two paychecks per month. Usually it's like the 15th or the 30th, but I understand that everyone's situation is a bit different. So this budget sheet might not 100% apply to you. However, I do recommend just following along and seeing how I go about inputting the fields and adjusting it, because the budget sheet can be modified. It should be modified by you at the end of the day to fit your particular situation. So in this case, I'm going to mimic, let's say that my salary is $47,500 a year. So there's this, I guess, paycheck calculator. If you wanted to, you can convert your particular salary in here. But what I did was 47,500, and it says your estimated semi-monthly take-home pay is 1524. But if you look here, this gross paycheck is the pre-tax number that I used, and I put it into here. And then with the taxes, since I live in California, this is about 23%. And so in this red field right here, I put 23% in taxes. And so what you'll see is I have some formulas already set here that do the automatic calculation. And if anything, what you should do is get your paycheck and see what your paycheck amount is, and potentially calculate out your taxes to put into here. And when you put in the numbers, you'll get everything automatically calculated, and you can see the money that you take home on a monthly basis. But to get into the nitty gritty of things, let's just start off from the very top. So this field is what I would put as one of my paychecks. Let's say that I made $1,979 in a paycheck, and I work for a company that has a 401k, and so I'm going to put in my deductions for that 401k. So if you look here right now, this, you'll see two numbers. You'll see this actual number of how much is being deducted, and then this 5% number. So the 5% number is kind of my percentage contribution of how much I want to put into my paycheck. And so the formula is simple. It is, these are the formulas. What I've done is, in order to create a formula, you simply put in the equals to, and the math problem to make that formula happen. So for a 401k deduction, it is the paycheck amount. So clicking on this number, this column, gives me this B4, and then it needs to be 5% of that paycheck. So I multiply it times and then 5%, which is 0.05. However, because I want to make it retrieve the field from this field here, I click on it, and you see that it is C, this column right here, C, and this row 6. And so all I did was click on it, and now I have this equation, B4 times C6, and if I press enter, you will see that it automatically calculates it for me. So if I wanted to change the percentages, let's say that I bump up my 401k contribution to 10%, it automatically changes the value. And if you noticed on the page, a bunch of different numbers also changed as well. So if I change it again, you'll see changes happening all over the screen, and that's just because I've used formulas to create this budget sheet, so you don't have to calculate everything by one at a time. But let's go back to what I had beforehand, 5%. Now, one thing that is different is this actually shows, for some reason, my income increasing. And so the reason why is because I am doing a deduction from the 401k, but this formula right here is essentially the sum of all of these different values. So this is right now adding on to my income, but it's actually supposed to be deducting from it. And the reason why is because this is supposed to be a negative number. So in order to make this a negative, I multiply this and make it times 1. And so now that's more representative of what the real number is supposed to be. But essentially right here in this column is 1, primarily the income that I receive per paycheck. And then the other things right here are essentially pre-tax deductions from the paycheck. And obviously pre-tax is important because this happens before you actually get your primary tax. So another thing that I might have is I have to take the BART or like the subway to work every day, and so I need to take into account my transportation costs. So perhaps that transportation cost for a 2-week period cost me $50, but let's just increase it to like $70, and then you'll see that more of my money gets deducted out. But from here, you'll see this, the taxes that I pay per paycheck. And so right after all of these calculations, you'll see this post-tax income of $1,400 for a bi-monthly paycheck. And then I have this green number here, which is the take-home monthly pay. And you'll see the formula is simply this B16 field of the post-tax income multiplied by 2. So that's how much money I take home after my pre-tax deductions, as well as after the taxes that I pay every month. And so this is the main number that you should look for in terms of how much you are actually able to spend per month. And so now that we know how much money we make per month, then we can accurately budget what are our various expenses and where do we want to put our money. So let's go ahead and shift over to the red column here, because I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Your expenses are obviously what you have to pay for every month. This is kind of non-negotiable. You shouldn't necessarily choose to not pay your expenses. And so what you should do here in this column is just list out all of the expenses that you have and how much you have to pay for it on a monthly basis. And it's important that you put in the negative number. So for here, you'll see like I have rent minus $600, electricity minus $50, food minus $250. And again, all of these things you can change according to your particular situation. And in this column right here, the total monthly expenses, you'll see that it is the sum of all of these fields over here. Now let's say that you have more expenses than this, like maybe there's a credit card debt that you have to pay off each month, perhaps, or just any other expenses. You can simply add on to this more. The way that I would do it is I would expand this. If I were to try to insert a row here, it's going to mess up all these other fields over here. So I will Control Z and put that back. What I would do here is I would just copy this and actually cut this. So Control X or Command X on a Mac, and then I would just paste it down here and add more expenses. So other expenses, other, and then if I wanted to make sure that it's capturing these other expenses in the formula, just double click on it and expand this out. So what we can do here is we can see that it's going from N4. So this is N4 on the top and then N13 on the bottom right here. And let's make sure it captures to N16. So I'll go here, N16. All right. So let's just say I'd like credit card debt, and it's like minus 100. You can see that this number changed here, but it didn't put in this dollar sign, and that's just because the number view just needs to be formatted as a currency. So I could click that and apply it there. So now you see the dollar sign. And similarly, all of these other fields are updated as well. So this is the expense column, but before I jump over to these other two, I want to direct your attention over to this monthly cash remaining number over here. So this is kind of the way that I've kept myself in check in terms of making sure that I have budgeted appropriately for where my money goes, and to make sure that I'm kind of on the right track on my personal finances. So it's very simple. As long as this monthly cash remaining is green and a positive number, then I know my plans for what I spend for the month is okay. And I don't have to worry too much about things. However, let's say that I have higher expenses on let's say that my let I don't know what I would spend my money on, but let's say that instead of spending $250 a month on food, I was eating out every single day and that expense was $500. So what you will see here is, oh man, that's weird. It didn't turn red. So I'm guessing my conditional formatting is bad. Let's see. Yes. So that's why. The conditional formatting. So I'm going to do something here that you can see. It is, I'm applying to range B31. So this is what I want to do. And this is the rule that I want to do. If greater than or equal to 0, so basically if the value in B31 is greater than or equal to 0, then I would like the column to be green. So I'll put that done there. And then I'll add another rule. For B31, if the value is less than 0, then I want that to be red. There we go. So this is what I wanted to show you guys here. Basically, when you see all of these various calculations, I really refer back to this monthly cash remaining. And if I see it dip below $0 and it turns red, then I know kind of the budget that I have prepared is over budget of what I actually earn and where I allocate my money. And I'll get to the allocation of the money in a bit with the liquid savings and the investment savings. But even if I see this in the beginning, something has to give. And so you saw how I had an increased food budget of minus 500. That's where I know that I must decrease that food budget and perhaps go back down to only spending $250 a month. And you'll see that this monthly cash remaining will change back to green, showing that I have actually a surplus of $35 to spend after my expenses and all of these things. So I kind of skipped around there, but I think this is important to show. And what you'll see here is the formula is B19, which is the take-home monthly pay, minus F23, which is the monthly investments, minus J19, which is this liquid monthly savings, plus N19, which is these monthly expenses. And so, yes, that is one way that I use to track, just to make sure that I'm on track with my expenses. But going next to these columns, investment savings and liquid savings. So investment savings, I look at this column in terms of all of the various investments that I would like to make. So the Roth IRA, you can see that I contribute, $200 every bi-monthly, or that equates to $400 a month. And the only reason why it shows minus is because it's just for the formula. But at the end, you'll see that when you do the total calculation, all I did was simply summed all of the investments that are in here and then multiplied it by -1 to show a positive number. But either way, you can essentially use this column for whatever investments that you want. Maybe you're into investing in stocks and you tell yourself, I want to put in, I want to put in $100 every bi-monthly. So, or maybe you want to do $200 a month. So you should put in -100 in this field, and then you'll see that it is $200 over here. But then remember, any investment that you make or any numbers that you add into these investment fields will also lower your monthly cash remaining. And so you saw how this decreased to a negative number, but let's not care about that too much. And there's a reason why that I prioritized income first, investments, and then savings over here, and then expenses last, is because I think everyone should see themselves as an investor first. And you should really prioritize your investments. And so let's say that I also wanted to invest in crypto. Maybe I want to put in $50 a month in here. So I will add that. And Wealthfront, it's a service. Let's say that I want to invest $50 a month. So I'll do minus 25 here. And you'll see on a high level, this is how much you want to contribute every month. And over here, this is your liquid savings. Basically, this is savings that I have allocated in cash. And so maybe my savings accounts in Bank of America, I have another one for Ally that I use maybe specifically for vacations. So it's like a separate vacation budget that I want to save for. And Wells Fargo, another one. But obviously I don't have that. I'm pretty much getting into debt. Let's call pseudo debt, depending on where you allocate your money. So I don't like the fact that it's below this negative number. So something has to give in terms of one of these columns need to be adjusted in some way. So I maybe will save less in cash and drop it down to 0. So now this is back to a green number. The last thing that I need to mention is this total yearly expenses. So this doesn't have much of a formula. This number isn't used anywhere on the sheet aside from just acknowledging that there are also yearly expenses that you usually have that people tend to forget about. And so this is just calling out, like, I have 2 cars and there are registration fees that I have to pay out every single year, as well as a credit card. So I know that my total yearly expense, just so that I don't forget about it for next year, is around minus $455. But to me, knowing that I have in this liquid savings, if I allocate this money, I have around $4,800 in cash and savings if I follow this plan. And so this can easily cover this. So I would say use this budget sheet however you'd like it. But I think how I primarily use it is, 1, just getting a sense of how much I should be spending each month in terms of my expenses, and 2, how much I should be allocating in terms of where I want to put my money in my investments, as well as how much money do I actually want to save in cash. And obviously everyone's circumstances are different, and so take whatever I say and have done here with a grain of salt. But I'm sure you'll be able to best figure out how to apply this sheet to get you started in budgeting your own financial situation. And yeah, but on a high level, you can see where your money goes on a yearly basis. And over here, you can see that this is just this number times 24 to represent your yearly salary income. This is showing how much taxes you would have probably paid. Taxes are something very important. Again, this is 23% representative of what someone making around 47K would pay. If you obviously make more money, definitely increase your tax situation because you probably have to pay more taxes. But here you can see that someone who is earning $47,500 as a salary, they're actually only taking home, $33,000. And because of this, this is their budget that they'd have to follow. But the cool thing here that I recommend everyone do is now that you've established your budget for yourself, definitely consider updating this every single year because life changes all of the time. And just because you're making this amount of money now doesn't mean you'll be making that in the future. And so perhaps your salary increases. You can simply duplicate this page. Let's say that sample budget number 2. Let's say that beforehand you were making $47,500 a year, but your salary increased to $70,000 a year. Let's see what that looks like. So seems like you would now be earning about $2,917 per paycheck, and then taxes, let's say that you have to pay 28% in taxes now. Obviously, it's going to be a lot better if you just take your personal paycheck and input that numbers there. But so 2,917, and then the paycheck has increased to 28%. But either way, what is great about this is you can see your increase in income, and boom. If nothing changed in terms of where you've invested your money, in terms of how you saved your money, and in terms of how your expenses are, you can see that you now have a monthly cash remaining left over of over $1,000. And so with this new income that you have, your plans are obviously going to change. So you can use this sheet as a way to reallocate your money and form your financial plans. So with that, I am hoping that this has been helpful. Yes, if you've made it all the way through, thank you very much, and good luck with your budgeting. All right. Thank you, and take care.